Okay, let's take a look at natural selection. Okay, in natural selection, there's generally an overproduction of offspring, as some may not survive to adulthood. So basically, natural selection here means that the nature helps select which one will be fit to move on to the next phase of life. Those that are not fit will die young and will not mate and reproduce to pass on their genes to their offspring. So what happened here is, you can think of it this way. In natural selection, normally first there is a there is ample food. Okay, that means the environment is quite due to plenty of food. There is overproduction of offspring. So when there's overproduction of offspring, the offspring tend to compete with each other. So if offspring were to compete with each other, that means that only the fittest, only the stronger will survive. Because you compete for food. Okay? So if you are quite tall to reach up for the food, you win over those that are shorter. If you are a lion or tiger, if you can run faster, you have a big jaw, okay, or you manage to grab more deers or zebras than others, then you'll be able to survive. The rest who are not as strong as you will not get food. So if they can't get food, they will starve. They'll starve and then they die. So only the fetus will be selected for. This is the keyword, selected for. Selected for means they are favored. Okay? The weaker ones are selected against. Okay, so if you are selected against, so we will explain in terms of the fetus. Okay. So pass on what type of gene? Pass on the favorable gene. So if say the fetus, they have very strong bones, they have very strong muscles, when they reproduce, they will also pass on the strong bones, strong muscles to the babies. Okay, so the babies will also grow to become stronger. Those big ones, if they manage to reproduce, they will pass on the weak genes to their offspring. So their offspring will also be weak. But in this case, they probably will not be able to pass on the gene because they themselves can't even survive. So they don't have the chance to mate. They don't have the chance to pass on the genes. So after some time, the population changes. Okay, the population changes, we call it evolve into.
What if like the offspring has both favorable and unfavorable genes?
If say you have offspring that they you know, say the parents are very tall, giraffe, okay? They go on to reproduce offspring that are tall and also short. So that means these two will win. These two will be selected against. So these two will continue to reproduce, these two will not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there will be selection in every generation, not just in the parents. Okay? If you don't inherit the good quality, you will eventually die. So those that inherit the good quality will grow on. Okay? So of course these two, they will have offspring that are taller, even taller than the parents, same height as the parents, shorter than the parents. Okay? The short one will die. Okay? Then the tall one, if they mate, they will get even taller, something like that. So that's why you can see that the giraffe move towards the long neck extreme. Okay, long time ago, zebra, the height, the length of the giraffe is the same as zebras. Okay, so slowly due to their preference in the longer neck, they evolve into a species that look totally different from zebra. Okay, can they evolve into a, here you can see they evolve into a new species which is different from existing the older species. Okay, can?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at an example. So in this case, this example really happened in the history of humans. So what happened here is you have pepper moth. Pepper moth have two varieties. The normal pepper moth that looks pepper color and the mutant moth. The mutant is black in color. Okay, so the pepper moth's population before industrialization, there is roughly near to 90% of pepper moth and only 10% of black moth. Why? Because the black moth, when they rest onto the bark of the tree, they cannot camouflage themselves. But pepper moth can camouflage. So the black moth are seen by birds, the birds robin. So the birds robin will pick on them. The birds robin will eat them. So when they are being eaten before adulthood, then they don't have the chance to reproduce and pass on the black genes to their offspring. So the population for black is very low. So then there is some environmental changes. Humans carry out industrialization. They start to use coal as fuel. So if when you start to use coal as fuel, the coal will cause the bark to turn blackish. So now the tide has changed. If the bark is black in color, the black mutant moth can camouflage very well. The peppered are the one that are selected against. So they are the one that are picked by robins now. So in that case, this after a few generations, after 5 to 6 years, the population of pepper moth dropped significantly to 60%, while the black moth increased to 40%. Why? Because they can live on to adulthood and pass on their genes to their offspring. So more and more mutant moth comes about. Okay, while the pepper moth, because they are picked against, okay, whenever they rest, they are eaten. Whenever they rest, they are eaten. So in that case, there is very little pepper moth around to reproduce. So there are lesser pepper moth after some time. Okay, this is an example of natural selection, where the nature, you might say that, oh, this black bug is because humans do something to it. Okay, true, we did industrialization, but we did not purposely change the color of the bug. Okay, the color of the bug is a effect or is a result of air pollution. We don't purposely change the bug. Okay, unless we purposely change it, then it's artificial selection. This is still considered natural selection. This is still considered selection caused by nature, not selection caused by human. If selection caused by human, we call it artificial selection. Okay, Ken, you understand? So this is a good example. Harpreet?
Yeah.
This is a good example of how the population change in terms of population of pepper moth and also the black moth. Okay, so after some time, if all of them turn black, until 99% are black, we can consider this as evolution already. Eventually, this one die out. Then that means all of the moth are black in color, 100%. Okay, but luckily, industrialization didn't last that long, or coal didn't last that long. Usage of coal didn't last that long. So eventually the whole thing clear up and then they revert back to this. Okay? Can? Yes, Harpreet, do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is, let me see, is there anything that I missed out? Okay, here, this is a summary. So stabilizing selection here means that everybody is in abundance. Food is in abundance. There's not much competition, and then not many lions around. Okay, then due to uh, plenty of food, less predation, they reproduce. They over reproduction. So if there's over reproduction, then there's selection pressure, because you now have a lot of mouth to feed, then you don't have enough food. So you start to compete. So when you start to compete, then you have differential survival. Some can survive, some cannot survive. So this is differential survival. So those that survive will be able to reproduce. Those that didn't manage to survive will not reproduce. So this is what we call differential reproduction. Okay, Ken? And then finally, artificial selection. Artificial selection refers to human playing God. Human will select which variety to live on, based on, not based on whether they live very well in the environment or not, but based on the quality that humans think it is good. Like for example, cow that produce a lot of milk, humans think that is good, so they select them to reproduce. Cows that produce milk that are of good taste, although they don't live very well out in the wild, humans select them, so they continue to reproduce. Okay? In this case, because humans are the one that are providing food for them, they don't really need to be very strong or very fit, because humans can provide them with care, can provide them with food. When they fall sick, human can inject antibiotics, human can treat them. Okay, so in that case, they don't need to be the fittest to survive. That's why they don't have to rely on nature to survive, but they rely on human, because human give them food, give them shelter, give them protection, give them medicine. So even though they are not very fit, they will be able to survive and reproduce. Okay? Can? So that is artificial selection. Artificial selection is when human play God. Okay? Humans select the variety that they think they want. Okay? Like the breed of dogs. They think that, oh, this is very ugly, let's not breed them. Oh, this is very cute, let's breed them. Although their health condition is not very good, we continue to breed them. But we provide them with surgery, like when their bones collapse or their lungs collapse, we provide them with treatment and allow them to continue to live on to adulthood and reproduce. Is that okay? Can?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's it.